Alright, so we're out here at the condenser, and of course the problem is the condenser is not coming on at all. It's dead. Air handler's blowing, everything's going good. First thing I check for is power. Power to the unit. So of course, go to where the power comes in to the contactor. I check for 240 volts. If I don't have 240, I know something's going on either at the disconnect right here. I then go there. If I got power there, I then go inside to the breaker box. And again, it could be something as far as the breaker is tripped. A lot of times when I'm inside, I check that one of the first things, but it could have a bad breaker. So that's if you have no power coming in. Do you have power coming in and the contactor's not pulling in, I check for voltage on my contactor. I check for 24 volts. If I do got 24 volts and the contactor's not pulling in, I know that I got a problem with the contactor. I replace the contactor. Other thing is if the thermostat inside, you got it on cool, come out here, you don't have 24 volts, it's telling me something's going on with the thermostat. And that's when I then go inside and diagnose the thermostat to see if we've indeed, it could be a bad thermostat. And a lot of times what I do is I'll jump her off red, and this is a heat pump system. You can jump her off red to yellow, red to orange. That should engage this outside unit. If it does, I know the T-stat's bad. So then after you check for voltage on both sides of the contactor, let's say you do have 24 volts, I mean the contactor's pulled in, system's not running. Then check on the other side of the contactor, check for voltage there. I have checked, seen many of them where it's pulled in, I'm not getting 240 on the other side of the contactor. Contactor's bad. I'm not getting voltage. And a lot of times what happens is you're only getting one side, voltage on one side, the other side has gone bad. And it's usually the side that pulls in. If you get a two-pole contactor, this is a one-pole. Something's happening in the contacts there, and I'm not getting voltage. 240 to both sides, and it's not coming on. Next thing I'm checking, of course, these things that I'm checking would work on both the heat pump and a straight air. This is a heat pump, so like saying I'm checking the same things. The next thing I would check, if it's not pulling in the whole system, if I do have power coming in, a lot of times I'm going to check the very uncommon that it's the cap. If both things are not working, the fan and the compressor's not working, doesn't necessarily mean it isn't, but the cap is usually the next thing I'll check. I'll check the capacitance on it. If it is out of range, I then will change the cap. Again, listen. See if you hear the compressor trying to come on. If it's a lot of times if it's got 240 going to a compressor, you've got some type of humming or something going on. And a lot of times what I do is, if the fan's running and in that scenario where the fan's running and you can't hear, I'll disconnect the fan just so I can hear to make sure the compressor's coming on. Next thing I want to check is freon level. And a lot of times right after I check my electrical, if I've got power coming in on the other side of the contactor, I'll then check for freon because of the low limit switch. Of course, if freon gets below a certain level, it will kick itself off and keep from damaging the motor. So that scenario, if your freon's good, you got pressure in the system, you got power coming out, cap's good. I mean, pretty much for general, we're going to look at the compressor. And I'm not going to open this up, but pretty much what you want to do, this one's a little bit harder to get to open up, but I would open it up, then go feel on top of the compressor. If it's real hot, it's more than likely going to be in thermal overload. Usually what I do is check for continuity between common and run and common and start. If I don't have continuity, you've got an open line. That's the thermal protector kicking in to save the compressor. Pretty much, if it's in thermal, your only thing you can do is cool it off to get it to come back on. Whether it's a hose or to cool it off, a hose over the top of the condenser in there to cool it off, or you wait. That's pretty much your only two options to get a compressor out of thermal overload. You can hook up your continuity to those leads, the common to run, and with the water hose on it. And as soon as you get continuity, it's good to go again. The one thing, once it comes out of thermal overload, there was a reason why it got hot, and those are the things you need to check for next, is to see if it's too high head pressure. There's a whole list of things that you need to see why it went into thermal overload. You don't just get it out of thermal overload and then, okay, it's done, it's fixed, it's running. It's going to go back into thermal overload if you don't correct the problems. And that's something we can go into another day. But for that, that's a basic rundown of things you should go through when you're checking out an AC call.